Good?
Yeah.
Good. I'll be honest with you.
30 species of events microchip make you have lunch and also speaks of arbitrary uses as a result. Debate is a game off the federal resolution in the United States will require that works proceed a living wage for 2019. Living wage costs 16 and eval is warning because how to 16 times through the consumption constraints the individual and in a code closing out the opportunities of all the exchange which leads to mass forms of alienation. Polymer 7. Individuals also being a recoding of a consumer system and synthetic individuality behaviors of conformity level to consider savage and unconscious discipline saturated false spontaneity orchestra images and freedoms of the empowered religion considering these processes and leading to performance alienation terrorism solitude and the thousands of close possibilities of all these issues and cannot be reciprocated and all the virtual is brought within the maximum of absolute security translating to the excess of threat production and securitized to realize the little transparency of global military powers don't burn to kill or women to abolish the enemy to exchange the world of evil will unbrace 16. The virtual marks the beginning of new reality. Reality sets in a response to actual word representation level is living operative noticing to actual virtual all everybody's is wording the subject security no longer control the information control the data assessment production and new data machine company more of these and worry something related to this establishment that controls the main political costs and influence a vicious cycle increase security is away from the thrust gradually actualize no time for actualization immediately flows information means all threats are immediately realized by warding off nothing all costs being generally limited and moving towards the slow extermination insecurity for the same virtual reality where shows a lot of potential information and the actual object security and the energies of the effective production and science produces the inability to perceive the only use of artificial coverage and portrayal of any movement itself from growing and by establishing itself in hyper-real RD21. In a world market that overflow information science is what very uses agent to 20 vision and moderation range your production of the coming user box moderation production of scientific production and something in mass media and inability to perceive what's real and exercise with great influence on like narration because of the narrative that I'm nothing mediums of messaging so that no on that it now has no ontology autonomy is a copy without a model is a world with a reality independent referring constitutes a world without its independent reality world without the air that's structured hyper first prior question every subject exists within the code that's saying action into any therapy could be invested understanding the prior questions that is second change genuine motivation statement second determination must come from Richardson semi capitalism otherwise influence all their desires to the abs second chain of framework and the flow third attachment framework that only exists subject these or does anything to use the mechanisms of the code which produce to these conditions and that would only our framework allows for any solvency and raising the issues enables a little transparency you should choose to understand our interpretations extremely reasonable readings of the resolution this syntax involved terror on the code defend only a little bit drop 18. Given there is false information because it's possible to determine the veracity and information is true and strips and given network truth which is the entire network single powers and subject points to the truth and structure reality veracity individual statement truth is opposite questions involved in any business on its never true or false and only through interpretation the big comes to which is an identifying the network simplification in any politics because it's all issues of interpreting the violence and undecidability and information that's becomes a vision verification and center builds itself to with their side to get it to sort of just cross share false information and technology and some truth and variables enabling news, ascertaining interesting the means of messaging no longer in a way separated the union, forget ontology units by people do with the union without enough data, never speak for themselves, and debates the game relies on inoculation as a means of education, their discourse and intrinsically warped with 07. Serious games involve the repetition of skills with intention nurturing people to a diverse living society by covering the process of reaching out to the integrity, utopian assumption that neutrality giving techniques with the neoliberal subject constitutes a vision of individual education by no means neutral affair because the discourse and incident enforces a hegemony of militarism to elitist individual with such a violence as fact structural relationship online and instant matter to decentralization of power instantaneous neoliberal modes of production and the service of purely humanism militarism utopias of transcendent mobilized fantasy and instrumental domination and communication for the technological use share of the control of space and capitalism relies on neutral optimistic discourse and typically give repeated figure speedily into those environmental processes which go hand in hand with celebration of species action such suppressive violence and colonial patriarchal history. Globalization abolishes difference in the name of positivity and efficiency, thereby destroying the subject leading to inclusive violence on all singularities. Degree 24. A perfectly indifferent structure of the composition gets very different between weight, uniformity, and matter spacing between the object and subject, which describes the technological efficiency, positivity, and maximum productive efficiency by way of circulation, all circuits of an organ, show high achievement and exchanges, human subject becomes a mirror image of so violence and positivity done with no other means global balance is where humanity has to be adding to the global culture tracks signing for negativity, commented, forbidden death is not allowed to exert leaders running the human subject capacity raises the second humans and occurs to expect positivity in today's neoliberal subjects the ability to explain something to burn sign and system possibility collapsing to overeating illusion rejecting perceived as violent abnormal irrational and aberration system finding singularities but rejecting positivity system seeking legalization of point of illusion and the code maintains itself to simulate its irreversibility to better injection of reversibility to remove beauty of the established forms of communication accelerating their hypological shares and all collapses shows of absurdity the only layer exists is a form and thus the only one who evaluated Apollo 13. critique the systematic commodity, achievement of values, availability, critical value, preventive, office and banking corporations of policy exchange, and box structural signification for them doesn't adaptive reversal system of values, but the system is vulnerable to is a set of irreversibility, and even if it has only injection irreversibilities around the entire active system, the reversion of visually and autism democracy, and only strategy is defined so the reversal of losing information and power, greater power, hypermobility, absorbing anything and everything is systemically refusing the properties of these given reversal cancels the chain overloading information spontaneous, reduces within paradox and even greater uncertainty. The university is a graveyard, retrains, prescription absorbs any all radicals locked within only the abscess symbolic rupture can solve occupied UC Berkeley 09. The university manages our social debt translate what we want to accept the social conflict meanings ripped from action and push the values they reconfigure themselves like containers in the administration now to shape student discord becomes an all thoughtless and the university seals and homogenizes meaning the university is greater art discourse to make it goes to set together instead of legible for this and to manage as a machine for administering definitions for research programming role and co-opting and containing any radical potential of the university but the great gladly miss cultural relation and not going to take against traditional radicalism and given actions never going to move in if we were permanently buried prescribed identity categories, reform teach identities, each truth, that's any barrel platform, and then there's a social values of many ruptures. Dr. Ross.
Any independent reasons to drop today? Other than this with the K?
Well, I mean, you haven't done anything.
Okay, sure. Going onto the K, why does it affirm? Or like, why does the judge vote for you?
What do you mean, why does the judge vote? Do you want me to explain the entire K?
No, thank you. There's, I guess, like, sure, your rule of the ballot is to disrupt the hyperreal, but why does it matter if debate's a game?
Because that's exactly how we disrupted the hyperreal. That isn't a question of whether debate's a game or not. Debate can be a game and have different objectives.
Sure, if debate's a game, why do you care about a rule of the ballot?
Well, because that's how we govern the game and how we govern what occurs within the game.
Why are you proposing a rule of the ballot?
What?
Why are you proposing
Because
a rule
debate
of
is
the
a
ballot?
game.
Debate is
Instruction. Well,
Wait, if debate is a game and you're proposing a rule of the ballot, why are you disrupting debate?
what? Because we're utilizing that role of the ballot and that mode of a debate being a game to go against itself.
Sure, you can make
A
this
non-communicative or non-productive form of debate.
Sure, you can make this like rule of the ballot argument, but why do we care about like the rule of the ballot if debate's a game?
Because it's going to frame all the offense in the round.
Why do we care about offense?
Because that's how the judge evaluates debate.
Why do we care about how the judge evaluates the debate? Like why do you care about how the judge evaluates the debate?
Well, otherwise we wouldn't be here. Like, do you just want to have like a conversation, like heart to heart? We can talk about life and stuff. Like,
why did you show up today?
Because I paid to drive here and I enjoy debating.
You enjoy debating? Well, why do you want to disrupt debate in that case?
Well, debating can mean very different things to very different people.
Sure.
It's an activity.
If you're debating and constantly debating, and I guess like have you run the K in the past?
I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
But does that matter?
If you've
Not this version, at least.
Sure.
I've run AK in the past.
Okay, in the past. Did that do anything?
Probably. Does it matter if it does anything? Like, realistically?
Well, if debate is a game, then why would it not matter if it does anything?
If debate's a game, why does it matter if it does anything in the first place?
Great. Okay.
Got anything else?
Do you want to ask a question?
Sure. How's your day going?
Great.
How many off?
How many off? Why do you care?
Man, you're gonna tell me in like 20 seconds. Why do you do debate?
I don't know. Why do you?
Yeah, do you just want to go across there? Well, that's crossing. That is across.
I'm gonna go finish having this.
It's 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll just see some. explain prior question on rule of valid?
Like, what do you mean? It's a prior question in your framework because every framework relies on explaining why people do things or just things in general, and those are all subsided by semiotics.
Sure. Okay, I'm good. It's 2 minutes and 7 seconds of prep time. I will send it off. Okay, should be sent. See if that works. Should be just one off case.
Cool. I got it and am good.
I don't have it yet.
Okay.
I'll let you know. Sorry, it might be school filter also.
Okay. Do you want me to send it to like an email or?
Yeah. Actually, can if you could send it to John Joyce BMX at yahoo.com.
Okay. I'll add Spencer
Okay.
as well.
Sorry about that. No idea what this is.
Yes.
Did you send it or?
I should have sent it.
Yeah, I just got the second email chain.
Alright.
Did you get it?
Not yet. One sec.
Okay.
And just to confirm, John Joyce BMX at yahoo.com.
Let's see.
Why is my bugging it?
This.
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay.
Oh, it went to my Slack. Alright. span, and then, alright. I'm good. Okay.
The standard is consistency with the standpoint of skepticism through moral anti-realism. Two framing issues. One, the moral responsibility necessitates free will. That's in Hawken 83. That if someone charges you with lying and you can convince them it was not within your power to lie, you have absolved yourself of any responsibility. All it implies can to be morally responsible for some acts is to be at least have acted. Otherwise, if no one has free will, then moral responsibility doesn't exist. And two, morality requires absolute certainty. That's under 75. That knowing entails one is certain. That is made plain by the sentence like he knew it was raining, but he wasn't absolutely certain it was. Such a statement can't express any truth. If he wasn't certain, then he wouldn't know, and that negates because the U.S. doesn't have an obligation to do the plan of morality doesn't exist. One external eternalism that events exist in the past and future as one continuous spectrum, meaning all of our future actions already exist. That's right. 13. That considering my eating of a sandwich yesterday and my recollection of that today, the first temporally preceded the second, and the past and present never coexisted. Then it should be meaningless to say that one comes before the other, and the experiences is not internally there. It means that there's no longer a temporal relative. In two, physics, since human decision making is governed by biology and chemistry, as point 12 that were collected by the molecules that must obey the laws of physics. All success of sciences rests on the regularity of those laws. The true free will would thus require for us to somehow step out of our brain's structure and modify our work. Science hasn't shown in any way how we can do this because we can't propose a nebulous will on the inputs of our brain that can affect its output any more. Of a computer can still somehow reach inside itself and change the program. And three, is on gap because morality can be based on descriptive premises because it's impossible to derive moral from a descriptive premise. That's street 6. That rational reflection must proceed from some evaluative standpoint. The widespread consensus is that the method of reflective equilibrium is our sole means of proceeding in ethics. The tools of rational reflection contaminated for the latter are just a subset of the former. All of our reflection has been a processing of assessing of evaluating judgments, and so long as there's no relation between the evolutionary influences and evaluative truth, our evaluative judgments are likely to be false. And four, motivism, because there's no objective truth independent of our evaluative attitudes as ethical judgments are not statements based on facts that seek no date. That motivism raises the question of our ethical evaluation of ethical judgments, and a person who recognizes something to be good must also be motivated in its favor, and good must not be verifiable by the use of scientific method, i.e. psychology or empirical testing. Ethical judgments are not facts, statements of facts. Moral claims can be evaluated on the basis of truth and falsity, and the attitude expressed by the person in terms of judgment isn't cognitive but motivated. And the moral judgments express emotions and can be proved or disproved, but can't be described in a manner in which we evaluate statements as facts and use that epistemic competence because one is otherwise irresolvable. Because calculating probabilities, frameworks, and arguments is plausible, but only a binary truth and false can ensure non-arbitrary decisions. And under the rule of value is to determine truth and falsity of the resolution. That means that weighing offense with the offense-defense paradigms, rule of value over theory, no pre-fiat. And one jurisdiction is run on the ballot. Every term in registration rule book and is a handle explicit labels as establishment with class meaning and centricity activity. Two, true false is binary that prevents it arranged by minimizing synergies with jurisdiction and insert how things should they think the arguments are based on preferences for arguing arguments always destroys fairness because then just hack every round. Two, logic anything else is arbitrary. The better player wins the game because every round has a winner and a loser. Three, answer spots the truth testing because the first statement to be evaluated has to have truth value for the rule of value to be true. And four, jurisdiction 5 dictionaries define again as to deny the truth of and affirm to prove the truth of, meaning only obligation of the judge to go on the method of truth or falsity. I've denied the absolute by disagreeing which means that I've mapped my burden. And five, constitutivism, any other rule of value enforces the external norm and debate. Only truth testing is intrinsic to the process of debating. And six, so over the only thing that comes out of the value is a decision that maximizes the jurisdiction of which comes before anything else. Seven, isomorphism, that skill framing mechanism necessitate that the judge has an intervention to see who's closest at solving the problem. Permissibility and presumption also negate they don't have offense. Once semantics is defined as having an obligation to aspect of obligation, build negatives, there's a trichotomy between trivial vision, obligation, and permissibility, proving one disproves the other two. Semantics is always sense and teacher predictability, simply perfect as with the resolution is conditioned to the rules of debate, since judges are obligated to go on the text of the resolution. Two, safety, it's ethically safer to presume skull since we know what the skull is, but we can't know whether the app is good or not. And three, safetyness, because permissibility and presumption ground encourages the app to look with triggers and when they are controlled direction and flow, which means they can move all my offense that you can into 2 in order to compensate. And four, negating is harder. A, after gets the rest of the last feature, which controls the direction of the debate. B, affirmatives can also strategically equally output in one area, 6 times you advantage playing the 200 to get infinite prep time. And 5 affirmation theory. Affirming requires unconditional maintaining of the obligation. Affirmative is to maintain as truth. That's dictionary.com. And not negate because one place paradox. Because everything exists in a place, and the place that has a place and so forth. Therefore, identifying all statements is possible since it was 6 and continuing to grand paradox. One theory following makes a sound, 1,000 great following makes a sound, 1,000 can't make it something, which means the physical world is paradoxical. And 3 arrow paradox is time is divided into 0 duration seconds and slices, then no motion is happening in each of them, so taking them as a whole motion is impossible. And 4, the rules of logic claim that there's only statement is valid, the antecedent true, but the consequence is false. It's SCP. That conditional state asserts that the true antecedent and false consequence must be false. For any other combination, the unconditional is true. The neg is winning to get the ballot is a tacit ballot conditional, which means that denying the premise proves the conclusion that I should get the ballot. Onto their case, they don't have any specific reason why, why we should care for the rule of ballot. The day is a game because there's no reason to vote for a disruption. 2, that the process was damning for them, insofar as they regard the rule of ballot, there's no specific reason to value it. It's a perfcon as well, since it's a rule of the ballot is independently worthless, but there's no reason to vote for the app anyways. The counter rule of the ballot therefore is truth and falsity, which means that in that case it doesn't matter anyway since they don't have offense. See, they say it's a prior question, but truth or falsity is a meta constraint because it's why subjects exist to do things in the first place for a procedural reason. It's essentially they spend all of their 6 minutes as well as answering my questions, which means that insofar as they're still following the structural claims of the debate, it doesn't matter if they're disrupting it inside. It's just a random K that they write in order to try and get the ballot, but they haven't gotten the ballot since they haven't proven the truth of the resolution, and their rule of the ballot doesn't matter anyways. Who best disrupts the hyperreal? Plenty of Ks are read in the past. Essentially every single semiotics K debater has never done anything except you, Swickle, I guess. 2 side constraints. They say any genuine motivation stems from agent comes from disruption. But we don't have any motivative stemming in the first place. They don't have provide a framework, which means skepticism is true, which means that it doesn't matter anyways. And they say hijacks our framework. The only reason the subject does something is because of the mechanism, but the subject doesn't do anything because they're not obligated to do anything. They say truth, but it doesn't really matter anyways.
Alright.
Yeah.
Good for cross?
Yeah.
What is true? What is truth? What does that mean?
Do you want a true response?
I just want you to explain what truth and falsity mean in the context of this round.
We'll say that you questioning truth is a true statement.
Man, okay, whatever. So you say that judge intervention is bad. Does that mean that in the context of this round, the judge should just default to whatever minimizes the most intervention in the round?
We think that the judge should default neg because the app hasn't provided any offense.
That doesn't answer my question in the slightest. But whatever. So in truth testing, under your rule of the ballot, if I stood up and said something morally reprehensible, does that mean that I should still win if I win under your rule of the ballot?
Well, the answer to that is obviously you're using language to do anything. If you've said something repugnant, it doesn't mean that the language is bad. It just means that you utilize language in a bad way. Obviously, if you say
does that mean you win or lose under your rule of the ballot? Does it have any effect?
What?
If you said something that was racist, viscerally racist, could you still win under your rule of the ballot?
We only argue for.
Is it yes or no?
We only argue. It's not a yes or no question. We only argue for moral anti-realism, which means that insofar as you're utilizing moral anti-realism to do X, it doesn't entail why moral anti-realism is good or bad. Rather, it just means that you utilize it to do X or Y.
That's fine.
It doesn't really.
So let's talk about constitutivism. Where on the ballot does it say truth and falsity? Where does it say affirm and negate? Where does it even say the resolution?
On the judge's ballot.
Where?
It says who do you vote for after neg?
Okay, why does that have anything to do with the resolution necessarily?
Well, the jurisdiction claim is that it's written down on the ballot. Obviously, you affirm or negate at the end of the debate round, and every tournament registration rulebook, like the Yale rulebook or NSD rulebook, explicitly labels as a status point for clash. It doesn't matter if we care about the resolution or not, because for every single resolution, it's essentially to the activity, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, so let's talk about the paradoxes. You say conditional statements. Why does that not necessarily mean that if F is winning, they get the ballot?
Sure. So we say that a conditional statement asserts that a true antecedent and a false consequent must be false. So since this is true, since we've said that the overall claim of the resolution is false.
Why would if the F is winning, they get the ballot not be true?
What?
Why is if the F is winning, they get the ballot not be true?
Specifically, we say that if neg is winning, they get the ballot as a tacit ballot conditional because the app has to prove the resolution to be true.
And okay,
That's the process.
I'm gonna start that. Alright. That was 240. Order is just going to be case, truth testing, and then like the contradictions. Alright. Is everyone good?
Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt.
Debate is structured through a policing of norms and students that,
Or, one second. Sorry, I did not start my timer.
Debate is structured through a policing of norms and students that mandates production and consumption for a means of racing towards the truth. That enables the politics of globalization that erases singularities and negativity, leading to a living death that justifies war and militarization through meaningless repetition. The production and consumption cycle simulates images of war and suffering to need to be resolved, which recreates every threat. The affirmative is a gift and means of semiotic insurrection that overexposes the flaws of debate as a means to accelerate them and flood the blood out of the communicative activity. Your ballot affirms a non-logic and non-productive speech act that was the one I see and reverses the draft can master meaning in which erases value of life. That was the only offense in this round when it comes to how your ballot can symbolically rupture the hyperreal, which they have not properly line by line. Even if you don't believe that, our entire affirmative is about how the race to the truth enables a drive to reduce life into a living binary and a suffering binary, which removes the value of life. That is literally the entire affirmative. You should look at the Lundborg evidence. It's very clear about this. They literally just boil down this entire debate, whether it's truth or falsity, without answering the Jog evidence either, that you should choose specifically to read R.F. as a valuable interpretation of truth, because truth only exists within the context of which it's framed. You should read the evidence. It's literally amazing and completely kills their argument. And it talks about how if you just view truth and false statements in the vacuum of what they are, in the vacuum of their textual ratings, then there's no way of actually evaluating anything in the round, and it just leads to implosive violence. That is just fully conceded argument coming out of the Wednesday that they have not answered. Even if you don't believe that, it was literally in a card and extempted and given that you should evaluate the debate after the 1AC in the first card, and it says because I lose a 67 skew. Even if you don't buy that, the judge intervention argument that they made cross applies that because it's the easiest way for you to adjudicate this argument. Either way, Gibby speaks because Eva. That's the argument that I made on the roll about stuff. They've literally not line by line the rule about. The rule about is to vote for the debate about disrupts a lot of hyperreal. They've just said that why do we care about that? Their entire act is the reason why we care about that, because it leads to implosive violence, which actively harms people, and it leads to bad education. Then they talk about how truth is a metaconstraint, but whether or not truth is even existent, or whether truth exists and how we operate and how we view that is actually a metaconstraint on truth, which is a conceded argument. And insofar as the way that we think about truth and the way that we evaluate debates operated through semiotics, which is a metaconstraint both on your ballot to float and on truth, that means that our role about subsumes yours. Then they talk about how we're following different norms and procedural rules of debate. Yeah, because we have to, but we're disrupting other procedural norms that we've isolated as uniquely bad and constraining. Then they talk about how this has been run in the past and it doesn't do anything. And then they talk about how it has done stuff in TOC finals. So they're contradicting themselves there, but it doesn't matter because we don't have to prevent that we do anything. The entire argument is that we don't do anything because nothing gets done in debate if you function under the topic, but only one rule of debate can actually produce meaningful change and meaningful activity. On to the truth testing argument. Truth testing asks for the parameter of the game, but our theory at least is how we should play the game. The evidence explicitly advocates for a reversion of these parameters by proving truth or falsity is not axiomatic. That means that under truth of testing, you should affirm as a means of challenging that. First, TAP doesn't actually ask for the truth or falsity of the resolution. Then it doesn't say any of that, but the judge is asked whether they vote after neg. That means it's not necessarily about the truth or falsity of the resolution, but it could be about the app. It's very easy. Then, second, the rest isn't a stasis point for clash of the debate itself. It's a commutative form of debate. Third, there's no contractual obligation to abide by the rules. Otherwise, judges would be fired for picking up non-TAPs, and that's never happened before, which means you have no obligation even if it's within your jurisdiction. Then, for judges intervening against these, the conduct all the time of ethics were determined by the judge, and anything else justifies endless and implosive violence. Then, form content distinction. Their argument is about content, ours is about form, how we do debate, and how we function under their rule about. Then, reject their definitions because they need the word when that words have meaning at all, which they haven't, and they won't, and their own skep NC takes that out. Then, on the rule about it justifies active violence against minorities, which is a safety issue. No rule about it should permit racism in any instance. A prior question, safety outweighs because it determines whether or not people can access the game in the first place, which means you should actively hack against it. There are things that we must center around good and bad intrinsically, and if they want to continue in out-rounds being skep, etc., and you should value in-round safety above all else. It's metaconstraint on the rule about and outweighs on ballot proximity. If they're being racist, you should drop that. And that contradiction is affirm the system is making your defense meaningless and overproduction of incoherent science and symbols, and our method is demonstrating that the system has already been subsumed to truth.
Okay, let's take the rest of it. It's already. Okay. Everyone good? Order will be on NC and then K. Great. Okay. They've completely misconstrued our entire case during cross-ex. They've essentially conceded moral anti-realism. We'll extend the Whagen card, the moral responsibility necessitates free will. It means that, like, for example, if someone charges you or if someone like does something to you, like, and if you can convince them it was simply not within your power, then you absolve yourself of any responsibility. Conceding that is damning, which means that essentially it means that we don't have any moral responsibility to do anything, which means that insofar as we've proven our obligation of falsifying the resolution, then you would vote neg under the rule of the ballot. Also, they said eval or something. A part of rupturing the hyperreal is to vote against what you think. So insofar as we're rupturing the hyperreal more by conceding eval and then winning, you should vote vote negative compared to affirmative. They shouldn't make cyclical responses to this, because otherwise it would be an orderly or logical statement, which otherwise would mean that the affirmative would then be not rupturing the hyperreal, meaning if you even evaluate the AC in the first place, it wouldn't matter, since it would mean that the AC would have no offense, since there would be no rule of ballot, meaning since they haven't proven the resolutionary jurisdiction, which is written down the ballot even pre-round, means that voting on the evaluating the debate after the 1AC means you vote neg anyways based on presumption. We'll also extend the spillover, since the only thing that comes out of the ballot is the decision which maximizes the jurisdiction before anything else. It's a meta constraint, since they say safety and stuff, and the rule of the ballot doesn't change anything because truth is subjective. But insofar as truth is subjective, it means that since you evaluate the argument, it means that it's true in the first place. So it's even more of a meta constraint than the card they read. What was it? The jock card, which means that it doesn't even matter in the first place. They also say the neg is repugnant, but the neg doesn't make any claim to the ethicality of the action of the AC. It doesn't say any atrocities like the Holocaust or slavery is good, but rather makes a claim that assigning moral obligations is conceptually incoherent, since we can't be accountable for these actions that are taken without our free that are taken without our free will. This is a descriptive claim which doesn't say that we ought to do X, but rather that X is how the world works in the first place and is a structure, which makes the act incoherent in the first place. And it means that since this means that any response based on the morality of the NC isn't responsive to, since the NC doesn't make a claim around the world, it means that you wouldn't be able to vote on that in the first place. Also, evaluating after the AC doesn't work anyway, since you have to extend it after the until the 2AR, which means that essentially we've just forfeited the rest of the debate, since the app doesn't explicitly affirm under the jurisdiction of what you have, not rather what the rule of the ballot the AC's subjective rule of the ballot is. It means that you independently negate based on the claim of presumption, or however you evaluate presumption, since we'll extend the semantics argument here. The odds is defined as having a specific obligation, which means absent a practical obligation, you would then vote next, since there's a trichotomy between motivation, obligation, and permissibility. Since we're disproving one disputes the other two, they say contradictions. They've completely conceded the paradoxes, which means that insofar as we've proven the negation of the resolution, we also prove the negation under both rule of the ballot, since they're valuing contradictions. It is also a reason why we're disrupting the hyperreal. So we'll extend the grain paradox. It doesn't make any sense because one grain falling obviously makes a sound, but insofar as one grain falling doesn't make a sound, but 1,000 grains makes a sound, 1,000 nothings can't make up to something, which means that then you would vote neg based on the physical world as paradoxical, which means that what you see isn't true. I've actually answered the AC's rule of the ballot in the first place, which puts them at a double line. So either it's A, that I've answered the rule of the ballot, since what you see isn't real, and the physical world is impossible due to the Izok gap being true, or 2, that I haven't answered it, which means that you would vote neg based on voting AF, and based on the rule of the ballot in the first place. They've completely conceded that there's no reason, since debate is a game of why your ballot matters, meaning that the spillover effect is able to outweigh meta outweigh compared to any other effect. So in the first place, you wouldn't be able to vote on the app anyway, since in order for something to spill out, the only thing that spills out is the ballot, which we've completely won the argument, so it's an independent reason to vote for truth testing. If you have two competing ruled ballots, then you can't weigh between the offense between either of them, meaning it's a wash, so you vote neg anyways on presumption. We've also won that eternalism exists and it's true, meaning that events that exist within the past and future are one continuing spectrum, meaning all of our future actions exist, which means that you're voting app anyways by voting neg. And so like considering like for example the past and present never coexisted, which is an independent reason to like drop the AC, because we don't know if the AC has existed yet, since since it's not part of the past and future but rather part of the present. It means that it's meaningless to say that one comes before the other. So if everything comes at the same level of like debate when you're evaluating the ballot, it wouldn't mean that like you would be able to evaluate the ballot in the first place. So you vote neg on presumption anyways. Anyway, like that's a bunch of reasons why you vote neg on presumption. They've completely conceded the presumption ballot, meaning that like it's essentially a double bind anyways. So either you like vote on our rule of the ballot, which means that it doesn't matter anyways, or you vote on their rule of the ballot by voting neg. And we haven't dropped the eval because it doesn't matter and doesn't have a warrant.
Alright. Just gonna go truth testing case, so eval and then case. Is everyone good?
Yep.
Great. That'll be on my first verdict.
The in-round safety issue should frame your ballot. The only thing that they said this is not necessarily that in-round safety is not a prior question that they're debating in the first place, but rather that they don't violate, because they're talking about how skepticism triggered this ethicality. But our argument is that cross-ex definitely checks. You have said that truth testing should permit any other action from happening. The only thing that matters in the round is truth testing. That cross-ex was definitely damning, and the argument that I made in the 1AR was that you saying that truth testing has the ability to have a constraint of what we say in the round is a safety issue because it permits you being able to be racist in the 1NC. It's a prior question because safety outweighs because it determines whether or not people can access the game or access truth testing in the first place, which means you should actively hack against them, and that we must center around things being bad or good intrinsically. Even if skep's good, or even if skep is true, it's a meta constraint on their role to ballot outweighs on ballot proximity because we pushes people outside of the debate face in the first place, and that's bad. Then they've talked about how this judge jurisdiction, but they can see that judges don't have a jurisdiction to do anything because they're not contractually bound by the activity to do anything, which means that there's no jurisdiction and you have they haven't given a justification as to why jurisdiction is good in the first place. They've also conceded the argument that we've made that the stasis point for debate isn't a debate in the resolution, but it's the communicative form of the activity itself, and they've also conceded the job evidence, which specifically says that you should consider the affirmative in the resolution to be true in this instance as a means of disrupting the hyperreal and disrupting the system itself. Then, even if you don't believe that, it doesn't matter because they've conceded that their definitions are incoherent. They have to win that words have a meaning, which they have it. They go for the spillover argument, but the spillover argument is incoherent. Read the word and read the line and read whatever they gave to the justification in the 2NR. It was absolutely incoherent. Ballots matter, ballot shape, subjectivity, okay, but why does that necessarily mean that we default to truth testing? You have absolutely no idea, and that means that I have no idea. I have no idea how to respond to that, and I responded to it anyways. Either way, they've conceded that contradiction is affirmed because the system has been forged by its own meaningless overproduction of science, and it's doing its job by demonstrating that the meaning is already subsumed the truth. The entire idea of the affirmative is that truth is not coherent and truth is incoherent, but the only way that we can find meaning in debate itself is by the Paula evidence, which says that we should simulate the forms of debate and have it as a structure then on an eval.
Okay.
They give this incoherent argument about how eval after the 1AC, you should pick them up because they didn't drop it. Eval after the 1AC is incoherent. They've conceded the warrants. The warrants is very specific and very clear. The first one is that guy loses 6/7 time skew, which takes that out, and that it's easiest when it comes to judge intervention, which even if you want to buy judge intervention, it frames your ballots the easiest. It was a conceded argument in the 1NC, which means that 2NR extrapolations are way too new. It doesn't matter because even if you're voting under truth testing, they didn't read truth testing or any of the warrants, which means the only rule of the ballot is the case debate, which I gave to you. That extent case debate structured by a policing and norms of students that mandates the production and consumption of racist awards of truth. That enables the politics of globalization of racist singularities and negativity, leading to a living dead. It justifies war and militarization through meaningless repetition. The production cycle that will always need to be solved and recreates every threat. The affirmative is a semi-automatic instruction that exposes the flaws of debates and means to accelerate them. They try and say truth testing, but the idea is that we should inject this as a meaning of a true affirmative in the context of the resolution to disrupt debate and disrupt the norms of debate, even though it isn't necessarily a true in this instance. That is a fully conceded argument that they have not answered if you can see it's semiotics, that means that overall the role of the best for the debater, the best ruptures of the hyperreal going on when I see.
Good debate.
Yeah, good debate.